Welcome to Fun and Fundraising, everybody. The podcast where we talk with people behind top nonprofit galas and signature fundraising events to showcase how they positively transform their communities. I'm your host, Rob Giardinelli, and today just so excited to have three of my very favorite people in the whole world here. So we have Andra Liemandt, who is the founder and CEO of the Kindness Campaign, as well as Stephanie and Todd O'Neill, who are the co-chairs of the upcoming signature fundraising event for the Kindness Campaign known as Art of Kindness. And the Kindness Campaign is one of the most fun events I attend all year round anywhere. And it'll be fun to talk with a founder who's meshed with the co-chairs. And also, what's also really nice is Stephanie and Todd are co-chairing this for the second straight year. So we can kind of talk about the things that they've learned along the way in the first year that they can take and adapt for the second year. So I know this is going to be a lot of fun. And with that, Andra, Todd, Stephanie, welcome. I'm just so thrilled you three are here today.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for having us, Rob.
Yes,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Absolutely. So Andra, share with us what the mission of the Kindness Campaign is.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you for having us. The Kindness Campaign teaches emotional health literacy tools to children and adults of all ages. What I like to say is we create emotional health experiences, but really it's skills for life. Anyone can use these tools and really bring them along their journey for their whole life. So we start at age 3. So it's never too early to start and never too late to use them.
I completely agree with that. And that's what I admire what you do so much is, things like just learning how to communicate better and being more empathic towards people. Those are things that it's not like going to school and you go to school for 12 years and then maybe 4 more or 7 more and you're done. This is something you can learn every
Yeah.
single day throughout your entire life and utilize the practice of that. And that's what I like about this organization and your mission so much.
Thank you. Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
ongoing. We can always continue to grow and learn about ourselves, about our own emotional health journeys. And that's what's fun about it. Curiosity and growth around your own abilities to know yourself, whether it's about your ability to know how to get through those moments of sheer anxiety or anger or just leaning into joy, and how to have more of it. I think in today's world, those are all skills that we all need and we're all craving. And so why not like learn about it, be curious and really know what's in your toolbox. And it's going to be different for each person. And that's what I've loved with the kindness campaign that we've been able to really build on over the years are different tools for each individual. And it's been a fun couple years, 10 of them actually, or
10
I'm
plus.
losing count,
We're going to
losing
be
count.
in, yeah, we're almost in year 11. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's been cool to kind of see that. And I have a couple follow-up questions, but before we get to those, Stephanie and Todd, I want to hear, about how you two initially got involved with the Kindness Campaign and why, what has made you come back to support this for many, many years? And I know you two are very popular and busy people, so what about this organization has really had you devote your time that you would, chair this not once but twice and together. And I will say we're about 160 episodes in. You're only the second couple that have both
Oh,
been on a podcast. I've had many that have had a couple of
how
co-chairs, but
fun.
you're the only the second time this has happened. So
All
I'm
right.
excited to hear how you two got involved. So please share.
Well, Andra's been a dear friend for a long time. So I've known her. I've always loved her. So anything she stood for, I would stand for as well. But kindness to me is a fundamental in life. In my previous professional career, I was a child and family therapist. So I saw what kindness did and what kindness, if you didn't have kindness, what could happen to you. So when I first learned of the organization, I was happy to get involved. We also became parents around the same time. So we started to see the value in teaching kids kindness at a young age. And unfortunately, not all kids witness that daily or, even at home. So it was such an important organization that was just starting to take ground. And we actually participated in this fun fashion show probably like 10 years ago, maybe And our daughters participated, and it was one of the most beautiful things to see them with the magic mirror on the runway. I mean, it was just such a beautiful event, and my daughters left there just so uplifted, so excited to spread kindness. And it's such a small thing, but it was such a huge thing. And so we were excited to get involved. And again, especially becoming parents, we just learned it's so valuable and it's so important to teach at a very young age.
Yeah, I think we were both so impressed by things that were simplistic in their nature, just again a mirror that spoke back to you, but then just watching the reactions that our kids had and other kids had, and a Nuffy Buddy and things like that, where they were just like lit ear to ear with smiles, and how important that was. And I think as you become a parent, you gain a keen sense of understanding of what kindness really is and what it means. And so when you see kids exhibiting kindness to others, how important that is. And on the other side, when you see kids who don't understand the importance of kindness, you really just understand that deeper as a parent. So that's why we were so drawn to the organization.
Well, and the three of you, like I've seen you all, raise your children, and you three are always, every time I see you, no matter where you are, you always want to be where you are. And I admire that. And that is not something that you can phone in because I can do enough things to know what people are and they're not. You all never, the three of you never phone that in. So it's been wonderful to see you all, raise your children and really pay that forward and pass it on to the next generation. And Andra, I want to go back to you and how this organization's evolved, because when you talked about the mission and it being for children of all ages, that was different than kind of where it started. So talk a little bit about how the organization has evolved over the last 10 plus years.
Absolutely. And it has evolved. And I think, just as a short summary of getting into this, early on, I was not planning to launch a nonprofit and really be where I am and in the shoes I'm in today. So, starting out, it was very simple, and it still today is simple of just really wanting to have something for my children in their classrooms and to have a way for them to unpack their emotions around something that was very sad in our own personal lives, around suicide prevention, because we were touched by a dear friend of ours' daughter who had taken her life, and it was a very tough conversation. So the very early beginnings of the kindness campaign were around really a prevention program, anti-bullying program, those kinds of things. But as I reflect on why I started the kindness campaign and what I wanted to really put into the hearts and into my own children, I wanted to talk about something that was a prevention and something that was beautiful into the world, and really talking about kindness, talking about things that I wanted in their hearts and with their friends and in the schools. That was the beginnings of the program. And that spread very quickly. It started, in their school, their classroom, and then it grew into five. And I'm proud to say, this year alone, we're serving 500,000 students this year across the country and the world. We served, over the last 2 years, we served Ukrainian refugees in Hungary, plus Canada, and we are serving over in Africa in Nairobi. So, to say that the small beginnings, humble beginnings of wanting something bigger for my children in a prevention program, and really just a conversation to have about something that I was very afraid of, something that I was really running out of, fear in my own life, has grown into a very beautiful, uplifting program. As Stephanie and Todd were saying, their children walked away with having used one of our very popular tools, which is a magic mirror, and talking about seeing themselves through the eyes of people who care and love them most, and using tools like this where you can kind of turn a conversation and have children see themselves in a way that's a reflection of kindness and love, and really change negativity, maybe that's happening on social media around them, and really help them and grow in these conversations has been such a dream. And today I look at the program that started with a journal in my children's classroom we're launching a program, World Kindness Day, which is a program that's going on 5 years old. It's grown 14x today. It's expanded. It started in elementary schools and now it's expanding. And this year we're launching into middle and high schools. We're very proud about that. And we have a kind leadership program, which is a entrepreneurial incubator program that started with one child. She came, actually reached out to me and said, she really wanted to do something, and had a need. And I met with both she and her mom over coffee, and we started really kind of thinking about what this could look like for her. And as we unpacked it today, this year, we actually, coming up over the next weekend, we will be talking about with 30 young people in high school. They are joining the program and their parents. And so we now have a kind leadership program that just in 3 years has, just grown with interest, with children really wanting to pursue their passions, that want to see hope for their future. And these are the programs that we're building, and that we're passionate about, because it's about needs. It's about the needs of our community, and about really listening to what our children need today, and our communities and our parents. So it's just been flourishing, and I'm very proud of my team and the work that they put in. And it wouldn't be possible without Stephanie, Todd, and the support of the community, and them really uplifting us in the way that they have over the last 11 years.
That's amazing. It's just, I loved hearing every single word of that story. And there's one thing I also want to add, and that is, I remember when you got into your 100th school and you celebrated that milestone. That's what I appreciate about you, is you understand when you hit a milestone, celebrate it or be excited about it, because that energy is contagious and that allows you to grow, because it fuels that optimism that you can really keep expanding. And now you're at, a 500,000 students, which I'm sure you probably, the U 11, 10, 11 years ago was like a 500,000 students. Like, I'm sure that number is almost, I don't want to say incomprehensible, but it's probably beyond anything you ever thought it would scale to.
Uh, Absolutely. I mean, you wake up and you think, wow, are we really on track for this? I think we are, but luckily we've got a lot of really beautiful community corporations, supporters who are going to really lean in, roll up their sleeves, and help us, packing for World Kindness Day. And we're going to serve, 300 schools nationwide and 200,000 students this year. And that doesn't happen with a tiny team of, 6 full-time staff and, a couple contract workers. That doesn't happen that way. It happens by a community coming together and saying, I'll help you deliver boxes. I'll show up that day. And, Vera Bank has signed up this year to be our Pack Days sponsor, and they're going to open up their doors and let us take over their whole back part of their bank, and let us, bring in all the
Wow.
boxes and supplies, or it just doesn't happen. So, without the help and support, we can't deliver these kinds of supplies into the schools, and be able to really make kindness happen in communities, and create cultures of kindness where it's needed. These requests come in from all over. Last year, we had to turn away schools because we didn't have the supplies, and we weren't able to do that. And so last year, we served 65,000 students. And to say that we have, serving 200,000 this year, that's quite a growth uptick in how we're able to serve. And it's directly correlated to volunteers, to support, and to people saying yes. So I'm very grateful.
That it's amazing, and it's just so cool to see all of that. And we'll get into some more of that, a little bit later on in the segment. And I want to turn, because what is so fun about the three of you, and why I'm excited to have you on as guests, is that you are friends on top of working together in this organization event chair capacity. So Stephanie and Todd, I'd love for you to start, but what are the keys to a strong relationship between an organization and the event chairs? Especially when you have the layer of friendship, added to that equation.
I think that's the best part. I think that's why this works so well is the authenticity that's there. It's really easy and fun to meet with this group. Like it's a very organic flow of conversation, very honest conversation. They're open to hearing our feedback. We're open to hearing their feedback. It's such a beautiful cause that I think we're all in it for the right reasons. And we all see the value in continuing the open communication. And I think that's why it's worked so well. So it's been a joy to work with them because honestly, it's a well-oiled machine, first of all. Second of all, they know how to get it done. Like they execute. You have all these grand ideas, and sometimes that doesn't always get executed. With this crew, it does. So it's really nice. And it's been a very, again, organic and authentic relationship. And I think that's why it's been so easy to work with them.
I think well said. And I think the reason that, again, we're friends and that we're part of this organization is because we all share the same values, right? I don't think we'd be fundamentally friends if we weren't. And I think that carries over into the organization as well. We all believe in the same things. We all share the same friendship. And as Stephanie said, when it's a well-oiled machine and things are well organized, it's easier to have fun in doing it as well. There's not the stress and the burden of, how are we going to do that? Or do we take that note? Who has that action item? Again, everything's just so well orchestrated. It makes being a part of it really enjoyable.
Fantastic. And Andrew, do you have anything to add?
Well, I would just yes and them. It's such a joy to get to work with them. I think one of my favorite things with being able to work alongside both Todd and Stephanie is sometimes, they have great ideas, then we come to the table with ideas, but we're always very clear. I believe in the words of Brene Brown, clear is kind. We're very clear about what our vision is saying or not saying. And one of my favorite stories is last year I came to them early on and I was like, okay, guys, I have this idea and vision for the gala. I was thinking we would do country. And they both you could just see on their face, they both just looked at me like, no. And
Boots and bling. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's already being done.
Yeah. And, first and foremost, two most stylish humans, not just in Austin, but ever. And they just looked at me like, Andrew, you are off your rocker. I've been wanting to do country. I was like, I forgot if I had some kind of alliteration like kindness and country or country. Oh, kindness goes country. Yeah. I kept being like, this is going to be it. Kindness goes country.
It's just catchy.
It's catchy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so sometimes, I'm this way with my team and my team shuts me down on things and I'm open to it. But the thing was, we're so good about it. They just I remember we were at another gala and I was just like, this is it. And they were like, no. So I went back to the team and I was like, yeah, they're not vibing with it. I think we even had like a deck ready or like some things because I was moving.
You had grand ideas and
I did.
Whether good or bad, we are pretty transparent people. So if we're not vibing, you can tell that way.
So my favorite thing about working with them alongside just we can just say the umbrella is the strongest relationship with anyone is based on how strong your communication is. And I think in the way that you can be open and be very clear with your communication. And I think no matter the energy or excitement around whatever your idea is, it's just being very clear. Because I think if they had said, oh yeah, that's great, let's go for it, but deep down inside they were dying, I wouldn't have loved that. That would have made me really sad to think that they couldn't have been open with me. Because it would have made for, not nearly as great event. So I love that about them. I think that that's really makes for this relationship being strong is that we listened to them and we said, pivot, let's do something different. And so that's what I just want to add to how it made things really cool last year at least. And we're open to it this year. We're definitely we're knee deep in working on it and that same kind of open dialogue.
Oh God, that's fantastic. Well, and and not only that, you came back for a second year. So so it's good that, and I'm glad that, but Andrew, I mean, in all seriousness, I'm glad that you mentioned it is okay to say, that may not necessarily be, because every single person has to be all in on the theme. And just
Yeah.
because I always like to say, if it's your first, second, or third choice, you can probably make that work. But if it's like your 15th, there's going to be a little bit of an imbalance there. So or the flexibility that
Mhm.
Andra and the organization demonstrated to meet everyone where they are is really, really key and critical. And, for you all coming back for your second year, Stephanie and Todd, tell us what you learned from last year's gala and what's one thing you might do differently this year.
Yeah, we were so thrilled with last year. Like it was such an amazing energy in the room. Back to the authenticity, it felt like an intimate gathering, which is one reason I love this gala too, because it is one of your more intimate galas, and that's what you felt last year. And everybody was so excited to be there. There was such a high energy in the room. And to be honest, I feel like that is the feedback we got was like we didn't want the party to end. Like people were not ready to leave after such a high. So I think we're going to amp up the after party this year a little bit.
So.
We have some great ideas, and we want the party to continue too. We like to party, as you know.
Right.
So we're excited about that.
Yeah, I think the venue, and again, kudos to the Kindness Campaign for finding such a unique venue. And I think when we toured it the first time, and then you hear the ideas of what it's going to become, and then when you step into it for the first time that night and you see the transformation of that space, it's a space that can be so large, but yet the lighting, the florals, everything, the way it was set up, made it feel really small and intimate. And I think everyone felt that in there. And I think, again, having it extend out afterwards, and Stephanie said, keep the party going, I think is probably one of the takeaways this year, and looking forward to that.
Well,
That's
especially if
amazing.
it's on a Friday night, it'll be
Yeah, that's right.
True.
So even better.
Oh, it's going to be on a Friday.
So get ready.
Look out.
Everyone in Austin who's listening, do an event on a Friday. It's
Yes.
okay. Y'all need to do that more often here. I mean, there's lots of
Exactly.
Thursdays, lots of Saturdays. There need to be more Fridays. So
That's
kudos.
right.
I am always excited for a Friday night gala. In Austin, there need to be many, many, many more of that.
Completely agree.
Oh
Yeah.
God. So Andra, I want to turn to you. So, what I have always appreciated about your event is there's always some new people every year, but there's kind of been a pretty devoted, fairly large core that's kind of followed really from year one or year two to today. So what are some things an organization can do to create a devoted following for its annual gala, especially with an organization like yours that's evolved,
Yeah.
over the last 10, 11 years?
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I like to think that, we've created a beautiful community of people who really are connected to the mission. And I think it kind of boils down to what Stephanie and Todd and I were just discussing around communication, around really helping those individuals feel connected to what we're doing. And I think that stems from not just coming to the gala, but all year long, and really having areas where they can plug in, whether it's finding out that they really enjoy. I have a new friend, and she, I think through you all, she really loves animals. And so in our community day that we also do, she wanted to volunteer for the petting zoo area that we have there. And boy, she just lit up when she found out that she could do that. And so really finding out why someone is coming to your gala, not just for the social piece, but connected to the mission, and making sure they can plug in those areas. I think it's also critical for any nonprofit to really make sure that your community understands where the dollars are being spent out in the community, and if they can be a part of that, like our World Kindness Day Pack Day, having volunteers be able to be a part of that in some small way, whether it's getting the blue, we have these blue folders that help us pack up all the boxes. It says we've got school X that needs 200 Enoughy Buddy antenna kits and an Enoughy Buddy and books and all the things that go in the box that goes to the school, helping us put those things together so it's ready for pack day. Or maybe a volunteer wants to go and deliver a box to a specific school. Maybe it's locally and their child went to that school. So I think that some of these touch points are very not only healing for people and why they're connected to the mission, but when you know that, it brings a community together in a very strong way that then when they come to the gala, they're not hearing something for the first time. They've actually seen it and maybe they were even there. The other piece is when you create things like we have a Sapphire Circle community. This is a giving circle. At these events, we try to create moments for our community that are healing for them. We are an emotional health organization, and that extends well into our parent but adult community. That all of that impacts our young people. And so the more that we can educate them on their own or give them tools for their own emotional health journey, the better. So every time we are doing an event, it's important for us to have something there that is a takeaway, whether it's just breath work, that if they're in a stressful meeting or in a boardroom or working at home and they have a moment of something where they're needing to reach for a tool and they have breath, they can reach for it. So these are things that we like to really make sure are available to our community. So we're not only bringing them into a fun event, but we're giving them a tool that they can use in life.
God, that was so well said. And it really highlights that it's not a one night thing. And I'm glad you brought up the different touch points, whether it's volunteering or the Sapphire Circle or what it is. Successful galas are not a one night endeavor. There are going to be other beats in the act before you get to opening night that are going to be, you could almost call them rehearsal events for lack of a better term, but there are other things that are going on throughout the year so that when
Yeah.
they show up for the big night, they fully understand why they're there and they're compelled to give more. I mean, that was just a beautiful, beautiful answer. And Stephanie and Todd, your business is Stilo. You all give back to lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of different organizations. So I love, for anyone who has a business, a lot of them either are like, well, should I give my time? Should I give back? I don't know. I don't know what I'm passionate about. What is a reason every business should include giving back as a part of its overall strategy? Because you all are a very, very good example of how that can make you successful.
Well, thank you. We're incredibly grateful to be able to do that. I'm a big believer in what you give is what you get in life. And even if, you can only give a little bit, that will go a long way. And people see that. And I think especially when you own your own business, people, especially in Austin, Texas, people want to support local and they want to support people that are giving back to the community and that care. And they're supporting the person, not the business. So I think that's a big reason to do it. We personally do it because kindness means a lot to us. We have kids. If we're giving back to this cause, this will only be a greater world for our children in the future. So I think you'll find your own authentic way of wanting to give. But I do think if you want to look at the numbers afterwards, I think it all kind of helps itself. If you give, you get, and it's just all one big picture.
And I think, one of the core foundations or pillars behind Estilo is really about customer success. And people come in, they should feel like they're in their best friend's cause, as Stephanie's always said. And so it should be a happy place to be. It should make people feel confident and in what they're wearing. And I think that translates out into giving as well. So what we give in the store and making people feel special in that moment or making them feel special in that night is the same thing we want to give into the community. We want people to feel special because they had this charity that's supporting them. And so I think it all comes back to community. And we want the store to be a community for people in the store or around the store. And we want the charities that we support as well to feel like we're part of their community as well.
And I'll tell you a little personal story. When I was a child and family therapist, I found myself being very drained just because you're kind of taking on, everything. And that's kind of when I pivoted to fashion, but it was one of those, like, I love people. I'm addicted to clothes. Like, how can I make all this work? And I always had that dream of how can I make a bigger impact than what I'm making just one client by one client. And it was always a dream of I will give back to the community. If I can succeed at what I love doing, I will find a way to give back to the community. So I'm incredibly grateful to be at that point, to be able to give back to the community. And I think it's so fundamental for every business to do, because it helps you feel connected to the community, which is one full circle for you and your clients.
And it also
Absolutely.
improves your emotional health.
Right.
Mhm.
Absolutely. To
Yeah,
give only
data.
helps you mentally, 100%. They're
Yeah, to
all little
see.
selfish acts of helping yourself.
Listen, when you help yourself, you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself and other
At
people.
first, exactly.
You got
That's
to do it
exactly
first,
right.
then put it on others. And, I'm glad that, you kind of talked about fashion and being happy. And I love your brand colors, which is blue. And if we're being fully transparent here, I totally get where country kindness came from because denim is blue. I like it all. Like when you said it, I was like, oh, this all connects. So, and Andrew, you talked about the sapphire circle. So you've really leaned into blue. And, I'd love for you to share what advice you give to an organization to effectively utilize your brand colors when you're theming, whether it's an event or whether it's certain programs or certain strategic donor circles or whatever they are. What advice would you give to them into leaning into your brand colors to do that?
I think the best advice, and I don't know that I'm an expert in this, so I feel, strange giving advice. I think definitely advice on style and all of those things come from the others in this group, Stephanie, Todd, and Estilo. But I will say something that really unifies people, brings a camaraderie to a community, is a theme or something that they can feel a part of. And doing that, one of our first years, really doing a big gala, having everybody wear blue. It was such a community builder for our gala, and it was beautiful. A sea of blue. Everybody looked good in it. All the men were saying, I had blue in my closet. It was amazing. And so it just really transformed our room. And for us, blue has been a beautiful color. Our main character, Inefi Buddy, who really is our mascot, he tells the story and helps children connect in a way where they can feel safe, go on journeys with the Nephi Buddy, maybe live out some of their own fears or feel safe in some of the experiences they've had in school. And so it's really a beautiful way for all of us to embody that color. There's a lot of that we do with color. We have an emotional we call it a Nuffy Buddy wheel or Nuffy Buddy toolbox, where we have children talk about color, talk about emotions through color and shape. And so all of these things are really to embody color and really bring that into our gala as another just touch point for emotional health for us. I would encourage another nonprofit to think about their own theme or their own messaging and how they want to bring that in. And it doesn't have to be color. It can be something else that's really important and impacts their community, and bring that in as a touch point for their community to wear or to have as a way to feel unified. I think there's another organization that does sneakers here in town, and boy, do I love that one. So, lots of, wear your dresses and your sneakers. And I think that's fun. And everybody wears, the sneakers, and they look, in whether they're glittery or you can show your personality. So I think there's lots of ways to do that.
I think I can tell you as a stylist too, it's much easier when it just says blue attire than when it says Western chic or Aspen chic or rock and roll chic. There's a lot of loose translations there. So I will tell you, just from a dressing perspective, it's great to just have a color to style around, and everyone looks good in blue.
And I think, to your point, it adds anxiety.
Yeah,
When,
right.
when I see
Right.
something that says this, theme that I don't quite understand, and I've been
Right.
going to galas,
I've seen them all. Yeah.
for I won't even say how many years, aside from hosting my own.
Right.
I feel anxiety that I'm going to show up and
Right.
not not have understood it correctly. And so
Exactly.
didn't that make you feel a part of
Right.
the group and community?
Right.
Well, and I love that you all have done like lookbooks. And the thing is, often when people hear blue as a theme, they think casual. And I'll never forget the first year I went in there with the blue theme, and I was like, gosh, this is so elevated. This is so, everyone came to play. It was like, it was just, it was really heartwarming to see all the love of the patrons because everyone leaned into the theme, but it wasn't like everyone was wearing the same shade of blue. There
Right.
were
Right.
different. It was just so cool, and it was so elegant, and it was so beautiful to see walking into the room. And it really is, proof positive that blue is elevated. People, it's not just denim and diamonds. It
Yeah,
is. It,
it's
it, it is classy, elegant, and sophisticated. And
Sure.
one other thing, Andra, and I don't know how you do it, but every single year you have these amazing activations, especially during the beginning of the event. So a few years ago, I remember the mural where people kind of got to paint along the wall and it created this beautiful community moment. Last year, you had a glam bot. So talk about the importance of giving the guest a great experience from the second they walk in the door, because you really do that, and your event does that just as well as any event I've ever seen.
Thank you. Well, I think there's a lot of there. Well, there's a couple of things. One is we all like to be playful, and I think whenever you really think about going to a gala time, I think to quote Taylor Swift, well, maybe I'll get the quote right, but your energy is think of your energy as the most expensive thing you have. And so I've always felt like when people decide to come to any of our events, that is a gift. It's a gift of their time first and foremost. And so how can we, from the moment they step foot into our event, how can we make sure to honor that time in a way that is fun, engaging? Sure, drinks and talk to their friends, but how do we differentiate ourselves in a way that is makes them feel like they are doing something that's maybe slightly different than anything else they've ever done and makes it feel playful. And we like to lean into a lot of, we have four pillars: self-image, emotional health, emotional awareness, empathy, and community. And these are all tied to your emotional health. And so we like to lean into those four core pillars in everything we do. And so when we bring someone through that, whether it's their self-image and they're standing in front of a glam bot and they're seeing themselves or, challenging themselves in that way, or opening a mystery box and tapping into their playful side. And our mystery box this past year was a new activation. I'm happy to report we will be doing that again this year and taking it, elevating it up just a notch. So trying to gamify everything in a way that surprises, delights, it brings out an explorer in someone is a way to think of people tapping into their childhood or making them feel something that maybe they haven't felt before is really the challenge. And we couldn't do that without the creativity on our team is massive, but also without the hard work of our committee. Our committee works so hard to make all of those things come to life. And of course, Stephanie and Todd.
Absolutely. And Stephanie and Todd, talk a little bit about, I'm glad Andrew brought up the committee piece. Talk about how the committee helps you and is a partner to help you execute the vision of what you two are looking to achieve, for this event or any event you chair, quite frankly.
Right. I think, gala committees are the most pivotal committee. They tap into their networks, they tap into their brainstorming, they're creating this party with you. So a lot of these ideas have come from the committee. Like, what if we had a glam ball? What if we did this mystery package? What if we, so it really is. And that's why choosing your committee is so important too, because you want someone that, is creative. You want someone that has a network. Like there's just so many different aspects. And you really lean on your committee for that. We could have all the ideas in the world, but if we had no one that had the partnerships or new people or ideas, none of it would happen.
And at the end of the day, it's a charitable event, right? So the most important part of all of this is that the people who come have fun and they donate money. So the committees are instrumental in leading that up to that date. So again, as you know, Rob, from being at all of them as you are, it's there's so much that happens behind the scenes leading up to it, and so much of that sponsorship dollar has already been committed, and that's really the committee, and having a diverse group of people there who have different resources, have different connections, because there are a lot of events, so you can't have the same people in the same committees in the same organization. So it's having the people who know the right people, who bring people who have, again, a shared value with the kindness campaign. So having that committee is really important to actually raising the money before and at the event.
Very well said, both of you. And, Andra, I know that we had talked, I had mentioned we would come back to this, but, World Kindness Day, and you also do a community day in terms of community. So you do a broader community day. And there was a period of time where you were doing it the day after, and I just want to know how y'all did that.
Never again. Never again. Just don't let those words come out of your mouth ever again. No.
But you still do it now, but you do it a couple of weeks after the fact. So it's almost kind of a kindness season as opposed to a kindness weekend. So.
Rob, it's gotten further and further and further away from our gala, if you notice.
Your words, not mine, but yes, I have noticed. But I'm glad you're talking about that, because the one thing is that even highly successful events like this one, you learn about the things. You're like, okay, I'm going to tweak this because I can get more out of it, or I can get more out of my donors here. I can get more out of my guests if I spread it out. So talk about how Community Day has kind of evolved over the years and over time.
I'm sorry, I'm trying not to laugh at myself. I think, ambitious goals are really important as you're setting out to do, make important steps for your nonprofit. And originally, the goal was to have an event that was, we do the gala, and the very next day, anyone who donated to the gala could come see it in action. We would have the very next day have the community day event where where your vouchers would go to work. We would bring our school, our families from the community, kids from the school, and they could come at no cost and enjoy an entire day of kindness, from petting zoos to, signed footballs and basketball players and book readings. And we'd have a stage going nonstop with kids acting, performing, Zach Scott Theater, book readings from book people. And I mean, you name it, it was there. As I mentioned, did I say petting zoo already? I say that because it's one of the most popular. I feel like I need two petting zoos. All the, balloon art and you name it. We had Legos and PBS, and it is kids' dream. It's a mecca of mecca. And it is so much fun. Now, as I say that, keep in mind the first year I did it the day after my gala. And needless to say, we don't do that anymore because that is exhausting. And no one from the gala comes the next day because they're exhausted. So I have moved it because also, as we learned, it's its own thing. And people want to come to it, but they want to come on a day where it can have its own life. It started off at Easy Tiger, and it started off a little smaller, but now it's got 600 plus families and community people coming. We've got requests coming in where people want to be vendors, people want to be there. It is its own event. So that's why we've moved it to separate it, because it's just its own thing. It even has its own sponsorship. So if people want to sponsor the stage, you want to be the food sponsor, we have all of that set up now, because it truly is its own event. It is such a beautiful event to see. It is one of my favorite things to do as well, because we have so many kiddos, families who come, families from the rural areas, which is what I'm finding. They travel from surrounding areas to come. And now we have areas from surrounding areas modeling their events after our event. So we are now helping them be able to duplicate what we're doing in Austin. So it's really grown, and it's really I'm proud of this event. I'm proud to be able to do this event and help others do something similar. But yeah, it's definitely grown, and it's been a learning process.
A very successful learning. But the one thing that I'm really glad that you walked through the process of it is that event allows people to see the end result of what the money they raise goes for. And that's why, it's genius that you moved. You learned along the way, okay, we're going to move it a couple weeks later. So some of these donors can come and see who it's benefiting, because I know quite a few of the people that attend come from Title I schools. So they're getting to see what the funds they're donating to go into action. That's such a critical thing, especially since COVID. There is an increasing ask amongst donors for that sort of thing. So, you've really successfully navigated and understood that, and, pivoted the event to really recognize that. And that's one of the things I find so beautiful about the community day.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and it's growing. I think this year is going to probably even way far exceed my expectation. But because we're already seeing families talking to us about it, and so we'll see how the year goes. It's always a journey. We're so grateful to be able to be in the community and serve them in this way, and it's just a true joy and treat to be with the families. So it's one of my favorite times.
Absolutely. And, Stephanie and Todd, tease for us as chairs a couple of things that guests can expect to experience this year at Art of Kindness. And I know you can't necessarily give away stuff before event night, but anything you can tease.
I think Andra already teased that it won't be country blue.
Yeah. It's not country chic, so don't worry. We won't be doing that, but we're going to have a lot of the things that people love, that we got great feedback. And then I think we're going to build on some more fun stuff. So, and we kind of teased about the after party. So plan to stay out on a Friday night.
Oh, yes. You don't have to worry about it. Worry about, getting up
Community day the next
morning.
day.
Yes,
So don't worry.
or any of that stuff. So very,
Exactly.
very well said. So I always like ending with this, and I know the three of you are going to give great answers because you all go to as many things as I do. So what is one thing, and we'll start with Andra and then Stephanie, until you can get the last word, but what is one thing all successful events have in common?
Well, I'm going to honor the words of a dear friend, the dear friend JT gave me before he passed. And if you don't, he told me, he said, if you don't know your number and you don't put it out there, you don't ask for it, you'll never get it. And when I started putting my number out there, things really progressed for this organization. And so if you are a nonprofit out there and you haven't put your number out there and you haven't asked for it, you'll never get it. So be specific about your goals, and you will see the success and sustainability start to come together for yourself.
Brilliant, brilliant answer, and from someone you can tell is a dear friend of yours. So I really appreciate you sharing that. But put it out there and ask. You will only get there if you put it out there and ask, and that's such a beautiful, beautiful sentiment. Stephanie and Todd. Todd, you go first. Stephanie, you go second.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, the events that are probably the most successful are ones that engage with the attendees that night. I think the kindness campaigns continue to do a great job of that. I love the glam bot. I loved the mystery boxes. There's all the activations throughout the years. And I think when you come to something and you feel like you're entertained in it, and you feel like you're doing that with people that you have in common, people you enjoy being around, at the end of the day, to Andrew's point, it helps you want to open up your wallets and try to hit that big number that's been put out there. So I think it's really just about everyone having a good time. And again, what better event than something that's rooted in kindness?
Absolutely. And energy is contagious. and you want it to be positive energy because negative energy is just as contagious as positive energy.
That's
And
right.
thankfully, Art of Kindness is always a very positive, upbeat event, and you can tell every single guest wants to be there. Great insight. Stephanie, you get the last word.
Well, I love that. To both of their points, from putting your number out there to engaging your crowd, the one thing that I've seen across the galas that really make an impact is authenticity from your hosts to your co-chairs to the people in the room. If everything feels authentic and the passion is there, people want to be a part of this cause. They want to be a part of this fundraising night. They want you to reach your number. So I think if there's authenticity involved, which this gala there 110% is, I think you feel that and the buzz is in the air and people want to be a part of it.
God, very well said. Being authentic, and that again, that's almost like energy. It's contagious and people can see it from a
Mhm.
mile away. And that's one thing I've always appreciated about Art of Kindness is you just feel that authenticity and love in the room. And, I can't, like I said at the beginning of the show, I've been looking forward to this one for a really long time. So Stephanie, Todd, Andra, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a real treat for me.
Thank
Yeah, thank
you.
you.
Absolutely. And the Art of Kindness Gala, benefiting the Kindness Campaign, will be held on March 27th, 2026 at Austin PBS Studios in Austin, Texas. For more information, please visit tkckindness.org. And that will do it for this episode of Fun and Fundraising. I'm your host, Rob Giardinelli, reminding you to keep it fun, keep it interesting, and your guests will have a great time. Have a great day, everyone, and take care.